Welcome to People in Profit. I'm Kate Moody. Coming up, women in the workforce, why the pandemic has forced so many out of jobs, and how to repair the damage. The new head of the World Trade Organization has broken through another glass ceiling. Now she has to bring the WTO into the 21st century. And transforming your business. We ask an entrepreneur about the opportunities uncovered during the pandemic and how she's encouraging young women to follow suit. March 8th is International Women's Day. In 2021, it caps a year that has turned businesses and societies upside down across the globe. And in many cases, women have borne the brunt of the economic hardship. In the United States, the pandemic has wiped out 3 decades of gains for women in the labor force, with their participation hitting its lowest level since 1988. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows over 1.6 million women exited the workforce in 2020, compared to just under 1.3 million men. In January, 80% of the jobs lost were held by women. Well, we can speak now to Elise Gould, senior economist at the Economic Policy Institute in Washington. Thanks for joining us. Talk us through why American women have lost their jobs in greater numbers than men.
Yeah, it's a great question. There's 2 main reasons. One is we have occupational segregation in the United States, and that means that women, Black workers, Hispanic workers, Asian workers, white workers, there are in different types of jobs in this country. So disproportionately, you are finding women in leisure and hospitality employment, in lower wage jobs in particular. And so those are the types of jobs, those frontline service sector jobs that were lost. Also, women in the United States disproportionately take on caregiving roles in the U.S. And so therefore, in the family, they may have to take care of children when schools have closed or daycare centers have closed. Some have reopened, some have closed again. They may also be taking care of other family members who have gotten ill during this pandemic. So elderly parents, in-laws, siblings, and such. So that both of those together mean that women have been forced out of the labor force and many have lost their jobs.
Minorities are especially affected here as well. The unemployment rate for Black and Latino women is significantly higher than it is for white women or for the general population.
That's exactly right. It's not just a story of gender. It's absolutely an intersectional story of gender and race at play. As much as women are disproportionately found in particular sectors, Black women and Hispanic women are even more so found in particular sectors that were hardest hit in this pandemic recession.
What can you tell us about the prospects of a recovery here? How are these women going to get back into the labor force, and when?
Well, that first question has to be answered by the health experts, right? It's all about the production and distribution of the vaccine. The quicker we produce and distribute the vaccine, the quicker the bounce back and the more significant the bounce back will be when it's safe to reopen businesses and to return to that kind of face-to-face, in-person retail and leisure and hospitality jobs that we have been known for in this country.
And it's not just about returning to work. What about the longer term effects here? Do we risk seeing a whole generation of women with fewer opportunities for advancement?
I'm certainly concerned what this pandemic recession has done. It has revealed the cracks, magnified the cracks that we already had in the system before. We had already seen in the United States softening women's labor force participation over the last 20 years. We had seen many decades leading up to the year 2000 of increasing participation in the labor force. But over the last 20 years, that has softened somewhat in the United States. We're not seeing that in many of our peer countries, in Europe, in Canada, and elsewhere. And I think that is due to many of the policies that other countries have that the United States doesn't have. Paid sick leave, paid parental leave, paid medical and family leave for taking care of family members and children when you have a new child in the household. Also, we don't have the kind of safety net that's provided for childcare. And those kinds of things are keeping women from realizing their full potential in the formal labor market.
Now, families around the world are spending more and more time at home at the moment. There is evidence that women are picking up more of the childcare and household duties, in addition sometimes to working from home. That burden of unpaid care and unpaid household duties is shifting even more. Are we going back in time here?
Well, it is unfortunate that women are taking on more of those roles and have been pushed out of the labor force. I think it's also important to remember in this context that in the United States, only 23% of workers are actually able to telework. So more than 3/4 of the workforce is still going to work in person. putting themselves and their family members at risk in terms of their health. And so when you think about who has that flexibility, those people who can work from home, that maybe can manage some of the daycare or some of the monitoring of their children in virtual school effectively, that is a very small share of the overall population. Those are disproportionately white collar workers, professional workers, higher paid workers who are able to do that. So for many of those workers who would have to go out into the labor force and go out into public and work, they're simply not able to do that because their children's schools have been closed.
President Biden says he considers the exit of women from the workforce as a national emergency. The government has spent billions of dollars in stimulus. It's considering more to protect American households and businesses. How much of that aid is directed at women, and do you think it'll be effective?
Absolutely. I think that it will be effective. It has been effective. We've seen that the unemployment insurance program has been essential to keeping families afloat. Again, because women experience disproportionate job losses, they will see disproportionate benefits from programs such as the unemployment insurance extensions, the extra payments that will be provided to keep them afloat. So that is all absolutely material, but there has to be more. We need to do more to make sure that when we return to a more normal economy, maybe the one that we saw last February, early in 2020, when women had half of payroll employment jobs, that we can try to go ahead and fix some of the other inequalities that are remaining. There is still a sizable gender pay gap. As I mentioned, occupational segregation, women are not being hired and promoted at the same rate as men. So we can do a lot to still fix the system, even when we get on the other side of this pandemic.
Now, even before the pandemic, there were calls in the United States in particular for structural changes to better support working mothers and families, issues like daycare facilities and paid family leave. Do you think that could gather momentum post-pandemic, or does it risk stalling?
That's a great question. I am optimistic. I think we've seen in some of the areas, right, immediately in the United States, we instituted paid sick leave and paid time off to make sure that people could care for themselves and their family members. That is absolutely essential. We are behind in these kinds of basic protections for women, for men, for all workers across the economy. And so I would hope that there would be some momentum. It is so obvious that in a pandemic, but really even in a regular flu season, we don't want workers going to work sick, infecting their customers, their colleagues. We think about those who work with children, those who work with the elderly, those who work with our food. We want to make sure that we are protecting everyone. And that is a very simple protection that I hope that will carry forward.
Elise Gould from the Economic Policy Institute, thanks so much for joining us. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala has taken the reins as Director General of the World Trade Organization. A two-time finance minister of Nigeria and 25-year veteran of the World Bank, she's the first woman and the first African to hold that post. She takes office as the international trading system faces a myriad of disputes and threats of tariffs, as well as the imbalances exposed by the Covid-19 pandemic.
We have to be more accountable to the people we came here to serve, the ordinary women and men, and our children who hope that our work here to support the multilateral trading system will result in meaningful change in their lives, will improve their standard of living, and create decent jobs for those who seek work.
Well, the pandemic has created challenges as well as new opportunities for businesses in all sectors. Soraya Dankoro is the founder and chief executive officer at Core Focus, which runs business transformation programs for corporations. Soraya, thanks for joining us today. Tell us, how's your company been faring during COVID-19?
My company is specialized, as you said, in business transformation, in agile and digital transformation. I work with big players in the automotive, pharmaceutical, and public sectors. We all have to adapt. We all have to adapt and to keep going to live through this period and maintain a competitive advantage, even if sometimes it's very difficult.
Soraya, you're currently taking part in a leadership program at your alma mater, the business school INSEAD, to help inspire young women to pursue careers in business and academia. Do you feel that you yourself would have benefited from that kind of support?
Yeah, definitely. I truly believe that we like all women should be supported by mentors, by peers with more experience. And since my time at INSEAD, it has helped me shape a new path. It has helped me make the right decision in my personal life, in my professional life. It has given me more confidence. So today, I'm surrounded by supportive women, and it's make a difference. It makes a difference in my choices. So that's why, and that's what I try to share with young professionals, young MBAs. I help them to help them understand that it's okay as women. It's okay, and they are entitled to dream bigger. They are entitled to wish for more than what they have today.
Why do you think there are so few female business students, and for that matter, so few female executives in French companies?
Good question. Good question. I think that today we have few women in this type of professional path because as women, we have more responsibilities than men. Sorry to say that. We are sometimes maybe we don't believe in ourselves. We are afraid to take big risks, or we don't know. We don't really see the point because we don't have role models around us. We don't really know what will be the final goal if we take this path or another. So I believe that if we are more supported, if we are more helped and advised in this type of decisions, there will be more women doing like studying for MBAs, more women sitting at decision boards, and more women that will matter in this business world.
Soraya Dankoro, CEO of Core Focus, thank you so much for joining us on People and Profit. Well, that's all for this week, but don't forget you can find our previous shows on our website, france24.com, and you can get in touch on social media with your comments and questions. Until next time, thanks for watching.